Councillor, we are just about ready to proceed. If you are.
Okay. I'm ready to go whenever you are.
Okay, Councillor, you can proceed. Thanks so much.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Sorry, my script just disappeared. There we go. Good morning, everyone. My name is Councillor Paul Ainsley. I'm the chair of the General Government and Licensing Committee. The clerk has confirmed that we have quorum, so I would like to now call meeting number 15 to order and welcome everyone. Today's meeting is being held with members of council participating both in person and by video conference. City staff are also connecting to the meeting by video conference. As City Hall remains closed, the public can continue to participate electronically and can watch the meeting stream live on YouTube at youtube.com/Toronto City Council Live. Ask everybody for their patience with any delays and technical issues. The city clerk staff have connected all registered speakers to the meeting by audio. The list of speakers can be viewed online by visiting the General Government Licensing Committee page at toronto.ca/council and clicking the speakers box for today's meeting. We do have 2 registered speakers, one for item number 14 and one for item number 23. Before we begin, I would like to remind you about the important health and safety measures that we almost follow today. All in-person participants have been seated 2 meters apart. Please stay in your designated seat. Do not change seats or sit in another seat. When entering an exit or moving about the committee room, you must wear a face covering. Sanitization kits have also provided on the desktops. Attendance in the committee room is limited to only those persons who are required for the meeting. A number of clerks, audiovisual, and IT staff are with us today. Any city officials joining us in person today are in physically distant seating. To the members of the committee, this is a paperless meeting. The city clerk has provided all agenda materials via CMP, the city clerk's meeting portal, including any confidential materials. City clerk staff will be available to both in-person and remote participants to help you with your devices if you have any issues with them. I would like to remind staff to keep their mics muted and their videos turned off unless they need to answer questions or speak to those in committee. This will make it easier for me as the chair and for those watching on YouTube to observe members as they participate in the debate and vote on items. For those members who are joining us remotely, please keep your mic muted unless you wish to question staff or speak on an item, and ensure your video is turned on. Make sure it's turned on. As part of each agenda item, I would ask members to raise their hand or unmute their mic if they wish to question staff or speak. I will then create a speakers list and will call on members when it's their turn to speak. When voting on an item or a motion, I ask that members ensure they turn on their video if applicable and to raise their hand to indicate their vote. To ensure I can see all members, I will also ask you keep your hand raised until I've reviewed the members in the room, as well as the remote members. Members, I also want to remind you that whether you're participating in today's meeting in person or remotely, you must still submit and approve your motions by email. The clerk staff will not be printing motions for your review. If you need to confer with clerk staff in the room, you must stay 2 meters apart at all times. Staff are available at gglc@toronto.ca to help with motions. If there's any visiting members of council attending the meeting today, I encourage you to turn on your video so that I know you're present and you can have the opportunity to ask questions of staff or speak. This will also assist the clerk staff to record attendance for the meeting. And although we're in different locations and meeting remotely today, the committee would like to acknowledge that the land we're meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge Toronto is covered by Treaty Number 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. At this point, I'll ask if there's any declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. If you do have an interest, please raise your hand or unmute your mic. Seeing none, I need a motion to confirm the minutes of our last meeting. Can I have a motion from someone to confirm the minutes, please?
So
Councillor
moved,
Matlow.
so moved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Matlow. All in favor? Carried. We will now go through the agenda. Our first item is GL 15.1, which is the apportionment of property taxes for September 14th, 2020. It is a hearing scheduled for 9:45, so I'm going to hold that one down in my name. Item number 2 is also a 9:45 hearing. It is the cancellation, reduction, or refund of property taxes as of September 14th, 2020. So that's a 9:45 hearing. I will hold that in my name as well. Number 3 is the largest property tax debtors with tax arrears greater than $500,000 as of June 30th, 2020. It has a confidential attachment with it. Would anybody like to hold it? Could I have somebody move the recommendations?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Filion is moving the recommendations. All in favor? Carried. Number 4 is the feasibility of changing the City of Toronto's policy on statutory holidays.
I'll move receipt.
Thank you, Councillor Nunziata. Councillor Nunziata is moving receipt of the recommendations in number 4. All in favor? Carried. Number 5 is the procurement of emergency goods and services in response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Just hold for a general question.
Okay, Councillor Filion is holding number 5. Number 6 is a non-competitive contract with Altech Industries Limited for proprietary original equipment, manufacture parts, and services.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Is there any hold? So is that Councillor Holiday?
That's a move, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Holiday is moving the recommendations of number 6. All in favor? Carried. Number 7 is a non-competitive contract with B&H Architects for planning, design, and conformance consulting for the George Street Revitalization Project. Would anybody like to hold this? Would somebody like to move the recommendations? Seeing none, I will move the recommendations in number 7. All in favor? Carried. Number 8, non-competitive contract with Darch Fire Incorporated for the purchase of 2 Bronto model aerial devices for Toronto Fire Services.
So
Would
moved.
anybody like to hold this?
Happy to move, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Holiday. Councillor Holiday is moving the recommendations in number 8. All in favor? Carried. Number 9, non-competitive bridge contract with Waterford Services Incorporated for continual custodial services in wards 22, 22, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. Seeing no holds, can I have a mover? Councillor Filion is moving recommendations in number 9. All in favor? Carried. Number 10 is a non-competitive contract with Goodyear Canada Incorporated and Michelin North America Canada Incorporated for the standardization of tire purchases across the citywide fleet.
Happy to move, Mr.
Any
Chair.
holds on number 10? Councillor Holiday is moving the recommendations in number 10. All in favor? Carried. Number 11 is the amendment to retainer agreement with Osler, Hoskin and Harcourt LLP for legal services related to pension and benefit issues. Are there any holds? Seeing none, can I have a mover? Councillor Filion is moving recommendations in number 11. All in favor? Carried. Number 12 is the Union Station Revitalization Project status report and contract amendments. Any holds? Can I have a mover, please? I will move it. All in favor? Carried. Number 13, expropriation of easements to construct the Fairbanks Silverthorne Storm Trunk Sewer System, Stage 2 in wards 5 and 9. Any holds?
I'll move the recommendation.
Thank you, Councilor Nunziata. Councilor Nunziata is moving the recommendations. All in favor? Carried. Number 14, lease and contract extensions for City of Toronto golf courses. We have, two deputants on this one, so I will hold that in my name. Number 15 is property sales, acquisitions, expropriations, and leases, the 2019 final report. Can I have somebody move the recommendations?
Happy to move, Mr. Chair.
Anybody? Thank you, Councillor Holiday. Councillor Holiday is moving the recommendations. All in favor? Carried. Number 16, 123 Queen Street West, leasing amendment and an extension agreement in Ward 10. There's a confidential attachment. Any holds? Would somebody like to move the recommendations? I will move the recommendations. All in favor? Carried. Number 17, below market sublease agreement with Luminous Community Services for early on center programming at 30 Shepherd Avenue East in Ward 18.
I'll move that.
Thank you, Councillor Filion. In moving the recommendations for number 17, all in favor? Carried. Number 18 is a below market sublease agreement with the Neighborhood Group Community Services for childcare center programming at 30 Shepherd Avenue East in Ward 18.
I'll move that one. I'll move that.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Filion. All in favor of the motions? Carried. Number 19 is City of Toronto lease at 2900 Warden Avenue in Ward 22. I will move the recommendations for that. All in favor? Carried. Number 20 is the Toronto Employment and Social Services lease at 900 Dufferin Street, Suite 219 in Ward 9. Can I have a mover for that? Councillor Matlow. All in favor of the recommendations? Carried. Number 21 is the release of city's property interest at 131 McCall Street in Ward 11. It has a confidential attachment as well. Seeing no holds, can I have a mover of the recommendations? Anybody? I will move the recommendations. All in favor? Carried. Number 22 is a grievance summary report for the end of the year 2019. Any holds? Can I have a mover for the recommendations?
Happy to move, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Holiday, moving the recommendations for number 22. All in favor? Carried. And number 23 is Ontario Good Road Authority web portal, and we have a deputant on that item. Okay, so we've gone through the agenda. I'm going to go back to the items that we have speakers for.
Councillor Ainsley? Sorry,
yes?
we do have one new item to add to the agenda. If I can put it up for a vote.
Okay. I generally don't allow walk-ons on unless they're of an urgent nature, which was my advice from the clerk that was given last fall and again in May.
Councillor Holiday.
If I may make the motion and offer some explanation with respect to the chair is correct, and we are trying not to add new business. In this case, my proposal is to ask the city manager to report to the next council meeting on the feasibility of installing the COVID-19 alert app on city devices. Worked extensively with staff to get it to this point, and the timing is the timing. I would implore the committee to give consideration to this motion at this time because I believe it's in the public interest to move quickly on it. I believe that we are lined up if everything works out to have it installed. And That's the reason for me not waiting to the next committee meeting or bringing it to a notice of motion at council, is just literally the extra few weeks of time would be of benefit. And so I don't take these motions to the committee lightly, nor do I have a habit of bringing them here unless they are truly urgent. So I will beg your indulgence on this, and I do understand that it is in order, but would ask the support of my fellow committee members to add this to the particular agenda today. And I don't think it's a controversial item.
Sorry, Matthew, can we see the motion? While we're waiting for the motion, does anybody have any questions of the mover?
Can you take that?
Perhaps the mover
I
could
can't
read
put
it
that in.
out while we're waiting.
Okay.
Councillor Holiday, can you
I
read
can
out your
certainly,
motion while we're waiting?
most certainly, yep.
You displayed in WebEx.
I won't read the preamble, but the motion is short. Direct the General Government Licensing Committee direct the city manager in consultation with the Chief Medical Officer of Health to report directly to the September 30th, 2020 City Council meeting on the feasibility of installing the COVID Alert app on all City of Toronto managed mobile devices and the necessary steps to maximize the benefit of the software. That's all it is a report.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions of the mover? Would anybody else like to speak to this item?
This is just to add the item.
Okay, so I need a motion to add this item to the agenda.
So moved.
Right, vote, all in favor?
Okay, and we will put that item on the agenda.
Opposed? Okay, so this item carries. It's been added to the agenda. We'll vote on it now. All in favor of the motion by Councillor Holiday? Opposed? And that carries unanimously. Okay, we will go back to our speakers list. Our first item we have 2 speakers listed for is number 14, the lease and contract extensions for City of Toronto golf courses. Just to remind the deputants that you have 5 minutes to speak to this item. Each member of the committee has up to 5 minutes to ask questions on it, and we then take it back into committee. Each member of the committee can each ask staff questions on this item
Councillor,
for up to 5 minutes.
sorry, Councillor Ainsley,
Yep.
can we please deal with the 2 timed items, the ones that were timed for 9:45? We can get those?
Sorry, my apologies. Thanks, Matthew.
Thank you, Councillor.
Our first timed item is GL 15.1, apportionment of property taxes as of September 14th, 2020. It's a public hearing. We have asked for deputations. This has been advertised. We don't have any deputants, to my knowledge. So I am going to ask for a motion to approve the recommendations.
Councillor, sorry, we have 1 motion on this item.
Okay. Okay, we do have a motion to amend this item before us. I am going to move the recommendation. All in favor? Carried. Item as amended. All in favor? Carried. Our next item is number 2, cancellation, reduction, or refund of property taxes as of September 14th, 2020 hearing. This has also been publicly advertised. We do not have any deputants. Matthew, are there any amendments?
Yep, there's one that we're going to display right now. Thank you.
All right. Okay, we have an amendment before us on the screen, which I'm moving. All in favor? Carried. Item as amended. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Matthew. Now we will go back to Number 14, lease and contract extensions for City of Toronto golf courses. And just to remind the deputants to be asked to speak to the item that's before us and the recommendations. This really doesn't, it's not about the validity of whether or not the City of Toronto should be looking after golf courses. It's about the motion before us to extend the contract. So the first speaker I have is Jessica Bell, Member of Provincial Parliament for University Rosedale. Ms. Bell, you have 5 minutes to proceed whenever you're ready.
Councillor, we may not have Jessica Bell on the line. We're just looking at one other user.
Okay.
There is a call-in user.
Okay, the next deputy I have listed is Louisa Julius.
Okay, we may not have either of those deputants on the line for this item.
Okay. All right. Not having either deputant. Neither one's on the line, Matthew?
Councillor, both of the deputants registered over the weekend. We provided them with call-in instructions and hoping that they got them by Monday morning, and we do not see them here yet.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to proceed with the item. The recommendations are before us. Does anybody have any questions of staff on this item?
Councillor, we could hold them down. We could just try to reach out to the two that we that had registered. If we want to try to get them back on the line, or if we can see if they're available. You could proceed to...
Sorry, Matthew, you've never had them on the line?
They weren't on the line, no.
Okay, so they did register, you sent them the information on how to properly connect in, and they haven't done so
Yep,
at
that's
this
correct.
point, so I'm going to proceed with the item.
Fair enough, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions of staff on this item? Seeing none, are there any speakers on this item? Can I have somebody put forward a motion to move the recommendations on this item?
I'll move the recommendation.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Nunziata. Councillor Nunziata is moving the recommendations. All in favor? That item carries. Our next item that we had speakers for was our last item, Ontario Good Roads Authority, the Road Authority web portal. And we had one registered speaker, Mr. Amin Menina, from Member Services Coordinator from the Ontario Good Roads Association.
Yes, good morning, Councillor Ainsley.
Good morning, sir. You have 5 minutes to depute, and you can begin whenever you're ready.
All right. So me and the previous executive director of OGRA have presented the background on TRA previously to the council back in May, I believe. So the service, the Road Authority service, is basically it's a member services that was started by OGRA back in 1998, and it was aimed to provide municipalities with means to organize their approved products list. It was mainly established as partnership with MTO, as they seeded it with a designated source of material product, and it evolved beyond that to include municipal approved products list, and we managed to score municipal partnership. We have on board the region of Durham, Halton region, city of Hamilton, and we're looking to have Ontario on board too. So that the service has three main features, if I can summarize it. The main one is the product library. this is available online as a open source. Anyone can go in and look at all the products and their designation and the information provided with the products, the supply chain, manufacturer, and all of that information. And the other features are the Product Management Committee app, which is linked to the product library. So the member municipalities that we have on board, they use that to organize their approved products list. They don't have to have a large physical library to manage it, to have to document their historical data, approval, and product information. They can easily utilize the product library, which is available online, and use that to publish their approved products list, which the service is available for public municipalities. So it's a service that facilitates the management and publishing of approved products list. One last thing I wanted to mention before I take questions, that this service is available for free for municipalities. The business model is that we gather a fee from the suppliers, the part of the stakeholder that actually makes money in this process, and we make it available as a complimentary service for our member municipalities at OGRA, as they are the ones that are paying the money for these services. The TRA service has has its own product management committee, which consists of municipal, provincial, contractor, and consultants representatives that are volunteers to pre-vet products, and if a products meet their approved specification, then they grant it and accept it for use, that you can see on the approved products on the product library. So that said, this service, the pre-vetting, does not require any member municipalities to apply this accepted for use to their own standards. Each municipality is free to apply their own approval standards on all the products. This is mainly to help smaller townships and smaller municipalities that do not have the capacity to have a designated product management committee, that they can at least take advantage of the experience of TRA's product management committee. That said, I wouldn't hold you any longer. If there's any questions, I would love to answer them.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Does anybody have any questions for the deputant?
Question, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Holiday?
Thank you. Thank you to the speaker. I know we talked about this once before at the committee, and I wondered if you could elaborate a bit further if either you have or have plans to go beyond just the product specification and go into something a bit deeper, like either some notion of historical pricing for the product. So I don't mean that the vendors would put out a price, but you could see where different municipalities, what they paid. And the other dimension would be examples of products used in other municipalities, kind of like a reference. So if you want to see, X component, it's located at geographic position Y, and you want to go out and look at it, it's there. I just wondered if that type of information is also included, so that municipalities that are doing their research can look a bit further beyond whatever it is that the vendor wants to present.
Thank you for your question, Councillor. As for the pricing, we haven't done that yet, as it's a very sensitive topic to navigate to so that you don't step on anyone's toes. But it would definitely be something of use. We received certain questions from different municipalities on regarding that they're looking to find pricing for different services, to compare if they're getting a fair offer or not. As for your second part of the question, on looking at what other municipalities have on their approved products list, or what products that they're using, this is actually part of the value in this product. The more municipalities we have on board, the more consistency in the approved products list. So all of the municipalities, if you go to the TRA website, the road authority, you can see our member municipalities, and when you click on them, you can see their approved products list. And the service does keep historical data. So if you have, for any reason, you wanted to go back to see historical data and why a certain product was approved and the certain information for a product, you don't need to physically archive it. It is archived automatically on this service. One other value for this is, say, any merging for companies that happen, or any change of names for companies, it automatically gets updated in our service as we collect the information when we bill them annually. I hope that answers your question. Let me know if you need more clarity.
No, thank you for speaking to us. I appreciate it. And I would only say is, maybe the question is, are you giving some thought to some of the roundabout suggestions I had in my question for the future, maybe? Knowing that pricing in the public sector, can be matters of public record, they're just kind of distributed out there. So having them in one place could be helpful for municipalities. And the other side would just be literally, reference points. If you'd like to see this particular street light, it's installed at this municipality at this location, and then you can go look at it. You can know where the product was used. Just a thought. So thank you.
I see. Thank you so much for your suggestion. I will definitely keep them in my notes.
Thank you, Councillor Holiday. Are there other questions of the deputant? Seeing none, I had a few. Could you comment, I'm sure you've read the staff report, there was a comment about, by our staff about concerns over the quality of the product, that it says there's no assurance of products are more preferable of a higher quality of safety standards or products from other vendors that don't apply on the list. Could you comment a bit about quality assurance of what's on your list?
So the quality assurance, like I mentioned, for larger municipalities like the City of Toronto, we don't interfere with your own standards that you apply to approve a product. So the city has the complete freedom to request information from the supplier and do their due diligence as they used to. The only the added value here is that they can utilize our online service to facilitate their decision by using the existing online tool for product management committee, which makes the committee meetings paperless and online. We've been doing this online way before this COVID situation happened, so it's built in already for that reason. But like I said, the pre-vetting is there for any municipalities that want to make use of it. But we encourage municipalities that have an existing system to vet products and inspect their quality to continue to do so.
Okay. And so just because our staff would be using the portal, it doesn't mean that just because you've awarded an accepted for use badge to a certain product, that's not forcing the City of Toronto to use that product. We still have our own database of products we can look at as well.
Yes, exactly. And if you ever went on the platform, you will see next to each product some badges that clarify if it's on the designated source of material of MTO, or if it's on the approved product list for a certain municipality, Halton region, for example. You would see which municipalities approved this product. So this might help your decision making. But you can also see that not all products are approved by all municipalities. Certain municipalities approve a product and certain do not.
Okay. And then in terms of operational costs, the City of Toronto, we belong to the Ontario Good Roads Association. So we don't need to purchase a subscription for the portal. It's covered by our fees that we pay already, correct?
Yes, that is correct. All municipalities that are a member of OGRA can use the service for free at no cost.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Those are my questions. I appreciate you coming in this morning or calling in this morning. It's deeply appreciated. At this point, are there any questions of staff on this item? Seeing none, I do have a question. So Mr. Pachaluk, so my understanding is the city will be looking at the portal and considering products on it, but we're going to continue. It's not going to be an exclusive usage, correct?
Through the chair, you're correct, Councillor Ainsley. We'll continue to review the portal as a resource in case it can be of assistance to us in the future with respect to any construction products.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Sorry, and there's no other questioners or speakers on this item? Seeing none. So we do have a motion before us that we receive this item for information. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. And now we will go back to, sorry, our last item is item number 5, procurement of emergency goods and services in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, which was held by Councillor Filion. Councillor Filion, do you have questions of staff on this item?
Sure. Just wondered if we could have a really brief comment on the status of the market currently.
Through the chair, if you mean with respect to PPE, I would say that things have definitely improved since the height of the pandemic. There was, in the beginning, of course, issues with getting products outside of China and getting them over here quickly. There's been a lot of work done by the federal and the provincial government to encourage local manufacturers, and the logistics as for getting products over from China has changed, making it easier. So I'd say for the most part, many products have a good supply now, but there are a few that are still difficult. N95 is still a difficult item, and gloves, certain medical grade gloves can also be difficult, but other things like surgical masks, those are quite plentiful nowadays, and face shields are also quite plentiful.
Okay, thank you. And are we as well positioned as we can be going into a probable wave 2?
Through the chair, we have been working under the direction of the Strategic Command Table to achieve a 6 to 8 month inventory supply for all our products. We are in a good position for most of them. We are actually completing an RFP for more contracts for PPE right now, and we are continuing to work on the situation to ensure that if the second wave hits, we will be prepared to address it.
Great. Thank you very much. Those are my questions.
Question, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Filion. Does anyone else on the committee have questions on this item?
Yes, please, Mr. Chair. It's
Councillor Holiday.
Stephen Holiday, thank you. Through you to the staff. I wondered if somebody could talk to me just a little bit around the rules and the policies as opposed to the specific procurements. Could someone just help me understand better how one takes a decision to make an emergency purchase and who the approving authorities are and what's the unit of measure or the thinking that goes into determine that it's a emergency procurement as opposed to a single or a sole source procurement for other business reasons? How does it meet that benchmark?
Through the chair, the purchasing bylaw allows for staff to enter into emergency procurement. It is a non-competitive, but under the rationale of emergency, the definition of emergency is set out in the chapter, which requires a situation of extreme urgency brought upon by unforeseeable events that makes the procurement of goods and services necessary to address things like an immediate risk to health. The decision to do one that is over $500,000, because normally non-competitive over $500,000 would come to committee for approval first, is with the respective division head that has noted the emergency. So during the course of the pandemic, through the strategic command table, and of course the emergency declaration by the mayor, with respect to PPE and things getting ready, the respective division heads would make decisions and indicate to me that this emergency in relation to COVID, and we would process the work. PPE usually was through me, but I would often consult with the Emergency Operations Center and with others as required, in particular with some of the large scale purchases that we did.
So PPE is a great example that, that's crystal clear. We didn't need masks prior to COVID-19 in the quantity that we need them now, and that's because of an airborne virus. But take, for instance, the last example at the end of the chart on page, forgive me here, 16, transportation services. It says, for the provision of the supply and delivery of 200 Barracuda barriers required to support the city's active TO initiative. So how does one go through the thought process to realize that those barriers were needed and link that directly to the emergency? And, just if you just tell me about the decision makers and the policies that they look at. I'm not here to dig into the actual decision on this line item. It's the report, there it is. But I just want to understand the process better. Because some items are clear and obvious and some aren't as clear to me as to why they're included in the emergency procurement.
Sure. So the division head and the respective staff would make the decision based on the information that they have available. In the case of COVID, we were considering both the response and then the recovery to get the city back on speed as fast as possible. So the division head would first review a business case, and then it would be sent over to me for review as well. So the process all depends on the division head connecting it to the emergency and what the response is for that particular contract.
Okay, so maybe the last question. Can you assure me that there's checks and balances in place as we proceed through the recovery phase? Things will get a little bit less clear, I would put to you, that, whether it's normal business or recovery or a little bit of both, can you assure me that there are checks and balances in the city's management hierarchy and our policies to ensure that things that ought to not be considered emergencies or emergency procurements aren't designated as such for reasons of convenience? And I'll leave it at that, but if there's any comment you've got on those processes, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Through the chair, yes, we are. There's definitely management controls to ensure that we are not simply putting things through emergency for convenience sake. There's, each division is reviewing things, and as recovery has kicked in and restarting has happened, things are different in terms of how we're approaching things. We know we have more time now. The committee cycles have been put back into place, so there's definitely ways that we can ensure that we're not trying to slide anything underneath an emergency guide. And I'm not sure if Mr. Flynn would like to also add anything to the comment.
Thank you, Mike. Certainly, through the chair, Councillor, I would echo comments that Mike has put forward. That obviously one of the questions that now exist with respect to anything that is being brought forward from an emergency perspective is to try to understand the timing of the requirement and whether or not it in fact can go through the normal procurement processes. That would, of course, mean bringing something greater than $500,000 to committee.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Holiday. Are there other questions by members of the committee on this item? Seeing none. Councillor Filion, you held this item. Did you wish to speak to it?
No, I just had those questions. I'm happy to move the receipt.
Okay, Councillor Filion is moving receipt of this item. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Matthew, I think that was our last item.
That is correct, Councillor. We do have one motion to enact the bylaws, however, that we'll display shortly here, and we've got it in Councillor Nunziata's name.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, that the General Government and Licensing Committee pass and declare as a bylaw confirmatory bill to confirm the legislative proceedings of the General Government and Licensing Committee acting under delegated authority at meeting 15 held on September 14, 2020.
All right. All in favor of the motion? And that carries. And just before we adjourn, I'd just like to welcome Matthew as our new city clerk representative. Matthew and your team, thanks for taking care of us this morning, and to Clerks IT and to everybody and staff and everyone for participating in the meeting this morning. And I hope everybody remains safe and well. And at this point, I'm going to move a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.